Hello and welcome to the March 2nd, 2021 edition of the Bobby Hesley Show. Just tried to go live on Facebook and I got zucked, folks. I got zucked for violating these mysterious community standards that they never tell us about. Oh, the commie platforms. But head on over to my YouTube channel to join me for a power-packed session tonight regarding a deeper look at what I believe is the dementia of Jim Crow Joe Biden, the man who is currently occupying the White House. Now, I want to start off by showing you guys a cartoon image that I posted about a week ago on my wall. And it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's actually pretty sad too. This is a cartoon image that inspired me to refer to Joe Biden as Barack Joe, comma. Barack Joe, comma. Because make no mistake about it, folks, that's what's going on in the White House right now. Joe Biden is a Manchurian candidate that is being controlled, bullied, and manipulated by Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. That is a fact. And I'm going to give you some compelling evidence tonight in this video that Joe Biden is suffering from some severe dementia. I had done a video last night talking about that, and I thought, you know what? I want to go deeper into it because I believe that we are witnessing the greatest public display of elder abuse in the history of our nation. I truly believe that. It is unspeakable elder abuse, what's happening to Joe Biden. I blame his wife, Jill, for either allowing it or being in on it, which are pretty much one and the same. I blame Barack Obama because, like I said last night, and I will say it again, make no mistake, this is the third term of Barack Hussein Obama. Make no mistake about that. And very soon we're going to witness the fourth term of Barack Obama when Kamala Harris, his protege, who he has built from the ground up and taught her everything she knows about her Marxist leftism, is also going to take over. So I want you to think about something. The president of the United States, the man who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, that lives in the White House, he has 7 essential duties that require his mental fitness in order for him to be able to perform. He has 7 duties that he put his hand on the Bible that he vowed to uphold. And here's what these 7 roles are. Number 1, this is essential duty number 1. He is the chief executive, meaning he is the chief decision maker. Yeah, you're right. They banned it on FBI book. It is what it is. You're doing something wrong if you're not banned on Facebook every once in a while. Usually you're censored and banned when you're doing something right or something wrong. But if you're doing something right, you're going to get banned. That's just the country we live. That's the culture we live in, guys. These other platforms, I really wish they would step up their game with their user friendliness and their usability and their functionality, because they need to be better. They have their flaws. Duty number 2, chief diplomat, that he has to be fit to do. Duty number 3 of the president of the United States, he has to be chief of state. Number 4, he is the chief legislator, meaning, yes, the executive branch is separate from the legislative branch. It is separate from the judicial branch. Our founding fathers, in their brilliance, came up with what they coined the separation of powers. But the chief legislator in America is whoever is in the White House, because it's his policies and it's his political mandates that pretty much determine the direction that the nation is going to go in. So when Obama got into office, we made a hard lurch to the left. When Trump got into office afterwards, we moved back to the right. Now that Biden's in, we're moving all the way back to the left. And I'd say that we're moving further left than we were under Obama. And that's because whoever's in the White House is the chief legislator. They are also the commander in chief. The presidential song, dun, 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 dun. That song is literally titled Hail to the Chief. Okay? He is the commander of the most powerful army in the world that requires an incredible amount of mental and physical fitness. You know, we oftentimes think about the first president was George Washington during the Revolution. He was a soldier. He was a general. We've had general presidents like Ulysses S. Grant. Commander-in-chief literally means the president will fight if he has to. He has to be mentally and physically fit to do so. In this day and age, that's not necessary because we have this advanced military and this advanced weaponry. Number 6, he is the chief of his party. And number 7, he is the chief commander of the economy. These are official roles and titles of the president of the United States. That means they have to be mentally and physically fit to do these things. The president performs these 7 essential duties, although he or she receives assistance from other branches of the government and specialized officials. I don't know why that says he or she. We haven't had a female president yet. In addition to performing these duties, presidents act as symbols representing the American public in many ways. So, guys, you see the funny GIF behind me of Joe Biden. Because that's a representation of who he is. That about sums up who he is. And I was trying to summon everybody's humanity and compassion last night for Joe Biden. And I want that to continue because of the condition that he's in. A lot of what he's getting is deserved. When you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. When you live a life of sin and tyranny and greed and corruption like Joe Biden has, when your old age comes, things are going to start breaking down. Things are going to start deteriorating. And that's exactly what's happening to him. As a matter of fact, I want to show you guys some clips, but before I do that, I want to go to the Mayo Clinic website, and I want to read to you some official definitions, some official symptoms of dementia, because I truly believe that Joe Biden has dementia. I truly believe that. Here's what it says: symptoms. Dementia symptoms vary depending on the cause, but common signs and symptoms include cognitive changes, memory loss, which is usually noticed by a spouse or someone else, or in Joe Biden's case, the entire world. Difficulty communicating or finding words. That's one of the things that defines who Joe Biden is his stammering, his stuttering, and the overall verbal diarrhea that Joe Biden suffers from when you put a mic in his hand. Difficulty with visual and spatial abilities, such as getting lost while driving. Difficulty reasoning or problem solving. Difficulty handling complex tasks, like the 7 tasks I just read. Think about that, folks. I really would not want to be president of the United States. I get a lot of people who tell me that I should run for political office. No way, man. I'm not going to do that to myself. I'd rather stay in the private sector and make money. But at the same time, it's quite the job. You got to be really, really mentally fit for it, which I'd like to think I am, but hey, I don't want to be in political office. Difficulty with planning and organizing. That presents a problem if you're the most powerful man in the world, if you're the leader of the free world. Difficulty with coordination and motor functions. Confusion and disorientation. Now, when it comes to this confusion and disorientation, a lot of you think I'm exaggerating when I say that Joe Biden is confused and oriented. And that's why you have to see for yourself. That's why I have to come with the receipts, folks. That's why I want to come with the receipts. Now, before I show this video, I want to see some likes. I need to get some engagement on my YouTube channel. I am trying to grow it. I know it's big tech, guys. I know it's a commie platform, but it's all I have to work with right now. The other platforms, I'm not able to stream using the software that I use that lets me simulcast. So I need your help and support. So everybody hit the like button. Everybody comment on this video to engage. But I want to show you guys a concrete example of this last symptom that I just read about from the mayoclinic.org, which is confusion and disorientation. Now, if anybody who's watching this has a friend or a family member who suffers from dementia, I want you to share this video. If there are any medical professionals watching this video, I want them to watch this video and weigh in on their opinion. Check this out, folks. Seeing is believing.
Me all day and it's dinner.
Now, this is Joe Biden when he finally got down to Texas after everything that was going on there. And this is the leader of the free world, folks. Listen to this.
Me all day and it's dinner time. Good afternoon, or almost actually it's evening. And I want to thank you, Governor Miss Abbott, for your hospitality and your friendship. And Representative Senator Cornyn, I think he had to go back. I think he's getting on a plane. He came in to see me last event. And Representatives Shirley Jackson Lee, Al Green, Sylvia Garcia.
Wait a minute. Who is Shirley Jackson Lee? Anybody ever heard of Shirley Jackson Lee? I think what he really means is Sheila Jackson Lee. But again, one of the symptoms of dementia, if he has it, is being disoriented, not knowing what you're talking about. Confusing names.
Lizzie Pinelli, excuse me, Pinell, and what am I doing here? I'm going to lose track here. And
did you catch that? What am I doing here?
Pinell, and what am I doing here? I'm going to lose track here. And
seeing is believing, folks. Hearing is believing. That's a case of, that's just a textbook case of dementia, guys. Look at the next clip.
Come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. You know,
I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate, not the presidency, the Senate. That's textbook dementia-based confusion.
we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate.
Crazy. I don't know who put them up to this, but they're pretty cruel. This is elder abuse, guys. Now, months ago, I made a prediction that all of this was going to happen. Months ago, I said that Joe Biden was a Manchurian candidate that had many known issues going in, that he was completely unfit to be president. And he actually confirmed it in a CNN interview with Jake Tapper. I'm going to roll a clip of that prediction that I said before I get to the next point, just to give you some context and background about how your man Bobby Hesley was calling this months ago. Check it out.
By providing the answer during an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper. If there are any problems, and you can bet there will be, here's what Joe Biden said. I'm going to let this footage speak for itself, folks. Some of you may have seen this, some of you may have not. So let me go ahead and share my screen and roll the tape.
But all kidding aside,
The first lady to be told me she holds them for you.
yes, she does, but not with she and Kamala have become friends.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, it's a matter of the thing. We are simpatico on our philosophy of government and simpatico on how we want to approach these issues that we're facing. And so I don't have, and when we disagree, it'll be just like, so far it's been just like when Barack and I did. It's in private. She'll say, I think we should do A, B, C, or D. And I'll say, I like A, don't like B and C.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go, okay. And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
One of Biden's tells when he's uncomfortable saying something, when he's being a little bit too transparent, he stutters a lot, guys. I'm not making fun of the guy. It's an observation, not a judgment. Now, I have studied body language for many years, guys. I was in sales for 20 years.
So that was a prediction I made. Now, what if I were to tell you, folks, that when Joe Biden said that he would come up with a disease so that he could step aside and hand everything over to Kamala, what if I told you that at that moment he'd already had something? I want to read something from you from a website called Clover Chronicle, where an insider of the Biden campaign actually revealed that not only did Joe Biden have full-blown dementia, not only was he in the throes of dementia during this time, but he was even on dementia medication. Listen to this, folks. Check this out. It goes into some background of what it's like working with the campaign. I'm going to skip all the way down to 4. I'll link this article if you guys want to read the whole thing. But look at what it says. 4, Joe Biden is in the early stages of dementia and is on medication for it. This is right from the mouth of one of his campaign staffers. Okay, that basically, it's a whistleblower that worked in the Biden campaign. It continues, quote, "This is the big one and the one I have the least direct experience with, but it's been an open secret for some time. Anyone who has had a relative with Alzheimer's or dementia can tell you there are good days and bad days. On the good days, when Joe is at his most lucid, his campaign manager, Jen, will send him out for photo ops or TV interviews. Make hay while the sun is shining, you know? On the bad days, Jen just tells the press pool, quote, 'No Joe today.' And they're all like, okay, cool. Most of the time, he's just a little foggy and gets really agitated. And that's something we've always noticed about Joe Biden, folks. He's got a temper. He's easily agitated. I'm going to show you some clips to show you that. But one of my coworkers told me back in May that there was a day when he thought he was running against Gary Hart in the 84 primary again. Joe went under wraps for several days after that. He's been more lucid recently because of his physician, Dr. Blank, they redacted his name for his protection, to put him on Namenda. Namenda is a medication to fight dementia. Jen apparently was worried about someone finding it out because she insisted that he prescribe it under a series of phony names and then have the interns pick it up. I bet there are a lot of pharmacists in Philly wondering why there are so many young people on Namenda. 5, the dementia medication has had unfortunate side effects. There's no dancing around this. The medication has made Joe incontinent. Though his good days have increased dramatically, he can barely get through a press event without running to the bathroom. That's why he didn't take questions after announcing Harris as his running mate. They weren't afraid of the questions. The press loves him. They were afraid he was going to piss his pants on camera. Lately, Jen's been having closed-door meetings to discuss which brand of incontinence pads would be best to purchase. Seriously, a group of paid staffers sat around and discussed which brands were the least visible and the least likely to leak and wouldn't audibly crinkle. That's around the time I left the campaign. I can't be a party to this sick game anymore. I never really liked Joe Biden, but he deserves better than to be thrust into the public eye when he should be in memory care. His wife should put a stop to this, but she's way too excited about being, quote, first lady to care about her ailing husband. And if you want to read the full thread, there it is. I'll link to it later. Isn't that sad, folks? That's really, really sad. And again, you guys are probably saying, why are you so sad for Biden? I'm going to take a quick break. And in this break, I am going to show you some just clips. Some of you have seen this, some of you haven't. But this is an entire montage of what dementia looks like. Check this out, folks.
Be tested on the campaign trail. But I had a more specific question. Here's the exchange.
Please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive
No,
test?
I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh?
You talking about Hunter?
What do you say to President Trump, who...
Did you hear that? He asked this black reporter, by the way, if he's a junkie. Listen to this.
Are you a junkie?
What do you say...
Why don't you ask your son Hunter that, Joe, huh? Why don't you ask your son Hunter, who got kicked out of the Navy for snorting coke, if he's a junkie?
To President Trump, who brags...
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got
Here comes the
hairy
racism.
legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it.
Now, the stuttering and the stammering, again, that's a sign of the dementia, guys. He's not all there. He is not all there, guys.
So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Learned about roaches from black kids, huh?
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
I'd like you to explain how you plan to not only keep us.
Now, I actually sat with this guy at a Trump rally in Lansing back in November. This is the guy who Biden shouted at him and said, I don't work for you. Listen to how Joe Biden, who at the time was running for president, treats an American. Listen to how he treats this guy.
Working about how you intend on getting the union vote when there's a large portion of the union workers that are gun enthusiasts, and you are actively trying to diminish our Second Amendment right and take away our guns.
You're full of shit.
All right, thank you.
Now, shush.
You're full of ish. Can you believe that?
Shush.
Could you imagine if Trump would have called somebody full of S that was calling him out on something? Could you imagine that? They'd have impeached him over that.
But I do it responsibly, and I don't hold rallies because it is the reason why we're in such trouble by not listening to the experts and the scientists about social distancing and wearing masks, which I never do when I walk outside of this house.
If you want a nominee who's a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, a proud Democrat, an Obama-Biden Democrat, join us. If you want a nominee who will bring this party together, who'll run a progressive, positive campaign and turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me, we can only reelect Donald Trump.
So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. Does Joe Biden have a brother? I'm lucky I have two younger brothers. I'm the oldest of three, and I've got a sister who's the love of my life. Sweet home Alabama. I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Look at my record.
I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Joe Biden saying, I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
The fact is that some areas that I think, for example, I think healthcare is a right, not a privilege. I do not support Medicare for all. I will not support Medicare for all. But we have never failed to respond to a crisis as a people. And I tell you what, I'm so darn proud. And those poor people who have lost, anyway, we are in real trouble. We should be making those masks. We should be moving on those ventilators. We can do that. Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
Donald Trump was asked on.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I don't. I just can't figure the guy. It's like I don't know. It's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask you. Yeah.
But all kidding.
You see how that reporter's just covering up for him? Just covering up for him, helping him along.
Aside, it's a matter of.
We already watched this about his dementia.
She'll say, I think we should do A, B, C, or D. And I'll say, I like A, don't like B and C. Mm-hmm. And let's go, okay. And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental
now listen to the dementia stutter.
We have based on a moral principle.
Stuttering is one of the symptoms of dementia. Listen to this, guys. Watch.
I'll develop some disease.
You hear that?
And say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't, and we just. The rapidly rising with I don't know, his just inability to focus on any federal responsibility. Second,
shame on his wife Jill for not only allowing this, but in my opinion, putting him up to it and kind of strong arming him to do it. Most likely, she just wants to be the first lady so bad. She wants to be back in the White House. Wasn't enough to be there for 8 years as vice president. She wanted to be there as first lady.
Secondly,
She wasn't
we're
happy
in a
with second
situation
lady.
where we have put together, and
I'll know that. I got to steer clear of the algorithms.
Lonnie knows I've in the history of American politics.
Yeah, we know what he's talking about.
Lonnie knows I believe this every fiber of my being. We're posed. What I proposed is it can be done. I think we're in a position to really make it happen. And my team and your team are already working closely together and to light up the path forward here. Critical laws like the PRO Act to strengthen collective bargaining. On politics like prevailing and look, I guess I'm taking too much time, but you know, COVID has taken this year just
some examples of the dementia, guys. Now, the media in America, and this is nothing new, are completely bumbling their jobs. But I got to say, the Australian news media has been all over this, and they have been doing the job that the American media should have been doing this whole time. Check out this piece that they ran, and this was February 19th. This was just 2 days, about 2 weeks ago that they ran this. Check this out.
Never before has the leader of the free world been so cognitively compromised. It's clear, to me at the least, that US President Joe Biden is struggling with dementia and is clearly not up to the task he's been sworn in to do. This was apparent to many during the election campaign, but such was the hatred for Donald Trump by the partisan and poisonous mainstream media. They chose not to highlight anything that actually may have derailed a Biden victory. Even now, after he's been sworn in, many of them are still refusing to speak the truth about Biden's lack of capacity. It was quite telling that while President Biden was playing Mario Kart and napping all...
Now, are you catching this, guys? Joe Biden playing Mario Kart. This is him right here. It's kind of hard to see him. Meanwhile, people are still waiting for their $2,000 stimulus checks that he promised. Meanwhile, we're still in the middle of a global pandemic that they claim is going to be a dark winter for all of us, that we have to wear double masks just to combat. And while all that's going on, he's playing Mario Kart. And Trump got criticized for golfing during the greatest economy when everything was going great. They couldn't get enough of criticizing him for playing golf. Here we are in the middle of all this crap going on. Not a word about Joe Biden playing Mario Kart, at least not from our media, but we hear it from the Australian media.
All of last weekend, apparently he had no official duties. His ambitious deputy, Kamala Harris, was telephoning foreign leaders.
You know, I have that thought myself sometimes, Jack, to say that maybe he's a good guy, but his mind is not there. I'm sure he's got good qualities about him, but at his heart, I don't believe he's a good guy. When you look at the way he's legislated, when you look at the way he talks about black people, his racism, I don't think you could be a good guy if you were mentored by an exalted Calypso, an exalted Cyclops of the KKK that you later eulogize at their funeral, who goes by the name of Robert Byrd. When you're mentored by somebody like Robert Byrd, I don't see how you can turn out to be a good guy. When you pass all the abortion legislation that Joe Biden is passing, you're not a good guy. You're an evil person.
That's a novelty for a vice president. And this week, he emerged to participate in a sanitized town hall being interviewed by the Bidenista, Anderson Cooper of CNN. Biden promptly gave away his teleprompter, and the result was nothing short of a disaster. Biden started off by excusing the genocide against the Uyghur people by the Chinese Communist Party. He dismissed it as just Chinese cultural norms. And then he made what many interpret as racist comments about television commercials. Did you ever believe 5 years ago every second or third ad out of 5 should turn out to be biracial couples? He said. Like, who cares about that? Who counts that? And why bring it up? But then he went on to suggest that blacks, Hispanics, and people who live in the country aren't really smart enough to get online.
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line
for that COVID vaccination.
Wow, what a way to offend almost all of your voter base. Anyway, it was capped off by Biden admitting he doesn't really know where he is a lot of the time, and he actually needs to ask his his wife, where he is when he wakes up in the morning.
Over the years, over your career, you've already spent a great deal of time at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Guys, could you imagine if our media did their jobs the way the Australian media is doing? Could you imagine that? And you have to imagine it because it's a fantasy, because in actuality, the U.S. media is the PR wing of the Democrat Party. Just like the KKK was a terrorist wing of the Democrat Party that terrorized and killed and bullied and lynched and shot and harassed black people when the Republicans gave them their rights. Well, the media does the same thing to all of Americans, just in a different way. And that's who they are. The media is the PR wing of the Democrat Party. There is no difference between the media and the Democrat Party. They are one and the same. That's just a fact. And look at how the Australian news is just coming after Biden and just doing their jobs. This is just basic 101 journalism they're doing. And look at the great job they're doing at it.
Except now you're living there and you're president. It's been 4 weeks. What's it like? How's it different?
I get up in the morning, look at Jill and say, where the hell are we?
Well, he should get some marks because that was probably the most honest thing he said during the entire event, because much of it was littered with total falsehoods, like this claim that the Americans didn't have a vaccine when he came into office. Now, that's total BS. And I can say that because Joe Biden actually had the vaccine before he was installed as president. But it went entirely unchallenged by the interviewer, Anderson Cooper, or anyone else in the mainstream media. Have a listen.
The biggest thing, though, as you remember, when you and I shouldn't say it that way, as you remember, but when you and I talked last, we talked about, it's one thing to have the vaccine, which we didn't have when we came into office, but a vaccinator. How do you get the vaccine into someone's arm?
Now, I'm not here tonight to highlight the mental impairment of Joe Biden. It's too easy. And it's not his fault. But he did run for office knowing that the decline in his capacity was accelerating. And so did the media, and so did the Democratic Party. Yet they all chose to cover it up. Just like many of them sought to cover up the Hunter Biden laptop and cash for access scandals. They haven't asked Creepy Joe about the weird hair sniffing, the allegations of sexual misconduct, his previous support for segregation, the rather odd way that he interacts with women, and his overtly racist statements. Now, these excuses for journalists are continuing the cover-up of Biden's presidency. And reporting on the dumpster fire that was the Biden town hall, many media outlets simply omitted the gaffes, the lies, and the clear Chinese propaganda lines. It's like they're running a Biden protection racket, while simultaneously protecting themselves from admitting their unconscionable conduct during the election campaign was instrumental in having this man elected as president. It's all rather pathetic, but even usually smart people are blinded by the nonsense put out by the mainstream media. They believe every perceived sin of Donald Trump while they seem intent on canonizing St. Joe.
Would that our media can do their jobs like these people in Australia are doing in their media. And I agree with you, Jack. And I was saying things similar. We'll be okay. We just got to get by these first 2 years. So I'm going to link in the comments so you guys can see the rest of this on display for, regarding Joe Biden. One more quote I'll read real quick before I wrap up the video. It was written by Tom Merce, and here's what he said. He said, quote, "If the president of the United States must decide within minutes how to respond to a dire emergency, its citizens expect him or her to be mentally competent and to act wisely," wrote Dr. James Toole, a professor of neurology at Wake Forest University Baptist Medical Center in North Carolina, who worked with the group. Because the presidency of the United States is now the world's most powerful office, should its incumbent become even temporarily unable to exercise good judgment, the consequences for the world could be unimaginably far-reaching. You guys have to remember, this guy that's behind me that you see in this animated video here, he holds the nuclear codes, you know. He holds what they call the football. This is the man who has to make the final decision in the war room if something pops off internationally, if a terrorist attack were to occur in our country. The guy behind me, that's the one who's in control. So we think. Actually, Barack and Kamala. It ends by saying there is currently no such standing medical commission in place. However, to observe a sitting president's decision-making, the sole best test of a candidate's physical and mental fitness to serve in the White House is the rigor of the campaign trail and the election process. And again, I can play clip after clip, montage after montage of Joe Biden on the campaign trail. And that's how I'm going to close out the video, folks. I'm going to close out the rest of this video by showing you a montage of Joe Biden.
The outbreak has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it. I'm ready on day one after more than 3 years in office. Why isn't Donald Trump ready? Mr. President, wake up. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts. And so, folks, if you're interested, join me. I could use the help because must defeat this president to change the trajectory of this country.
You said you accepted Bernie's apology, and now you're attacking him. Why are you doing that? Go. Why wasn't his apology enough, Mr. Vice President? Why attack Sanders?
Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. He apologized for saying that I was corrupt. He didn't say anything about whether or not I was telling the truth about Social Security. I just wanted you to meet the life of my love, the love of my life, Finnegan Biden here. Okay? You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump.
Now, do you guys remember the controversy that people made when Trump was talking about his daughter? Oh, she's very attractive. I'd date her if she wasn't my daughter. You guys remember all the furor over that? What would happen if Donald Trump referred to one of his grandkids as the love of his life and kissed her on the lips? What do you think they would have done to Trump if he done that?
I was telling the truth about Social Security. I just wanted you to meet
Watch this.
The life of my love, the love of my life, Finnegan Biden here. Okay? You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
Now, this is interesting. Guys, if you ever want to see some history between Joe and Kamala, go back and watch those debates. They act like they're all unified now and they're all team Joe Kama. But it ain't always been that way.
The federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
I have supported the ERA from the very beginning when I ran for the
Vice President Biden, 30 seconds, because I want to bring other people into this.
I supported the ERA from the very beginning. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I've also argued very
98 out of 98 votes.
Strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody, once they, in fact, they should. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice President.
What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia, he's going to find ourselves in a position where if Trump gets elected, we're going to be in a different world.
Thought he was talking about George Bush.
What will your administration do to help them give them that chance? Thank you.
Move it up here.
You guys ever hear the phrase empty suit? So this black college girl just asked him a very poignant question, very pertinent to the black community. And because he doesn't believe a word he says, and he makes up everything as he goes, and he has to have everything dictated to him because he's not a man of principle, because he is an empty suit, his first response to that was move it up. In other words, my canned, rehearsed, pre-written, pre-practiced response, because I don't believe a word I'm saying, so I have to be on script.
You know, there used to be a basic bargain in this country. Workers shared in the wealth their work helped create. Look, one of the things that that I think is really important is that we somehow put that back on. There's somehow that we're in a situation where we and you guys can sit in the edge or what if you I don't want you to have to stand all along, but it's up to. By the way, he gave me permission to touch him. All right.
What a creep.
Why don't you sit in the room?
Anyway, guys, there's 10 more minutes of this. I'll link to it in the comments. I'll link to it again. Give that a watch if you want to see it in its fullness. There it is. So I'm going to call it a show, guys. I've had quite the long day today, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'll see you on the next broadcast. I had to stream solely on YouTube today because I got zucked. Zucked me, guys. I don't know what for. I don't care what for, because I will not stop proclaiming the truth. So I will see you guys on the next show. God bless. Take care. Please like this video, comment on it, share it, and we'll catch you on the next show. Take care.